Hello, everybody. Tonight, it's not just a football conference. No. They got 8 teams into the dance last March. This is SEC basketball. Recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. Welcome to the One and Done SEC preview powered by drroto.com. I am your humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich, the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Elon's hellhole, at Dr. William Cannon. Let's get right to my broskies in basketball, starting with El Capitan himself. He is the captain of the Green Screens Media ship. Follow him on X at MC Holland34. The OG Money Mike, that's Mr. Mike Holland. What it do, baby?
Yo, what it do? I'm trying not to blow all my DK bucks before college basketball season starts, but I do have 5 satellite tickets already to the $15 Big Jam on the 14th, and working on a few more depending on what Western Kentucky does tonight. But that's neither here nor there. That's football. We're here to talk basketball. Hey, I think I'm making my debut on our top 20 countdown. So
let's go. Hey, round of applause for the captain on the
that.
top 20 countdown. Round of applause.
All right.
Yes.
And then, I'm just ready to rock it out, man. Betting previews coming soon. So looking forward to it, man. Let's get rolling. We got a long show today.
We do, of course. Before we get to that, last in the intros, but first in your hearts. He is the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media that you can find in those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. He's Eric the Blue. That is Eric Roma. What's happening?
Man, I think Mike put it best, right? Like, we have a absolutely jam-packed show here today. We've got a lot to cover, so we're going to jump right in. If you haven't been rolling with us all off season, we've been keeping our nose to the grindstone. We are absolutely dialed in for the upcoming season. So go back, check out all of our work on YouTube. It's all organized into various playlists. We've got the transfer portal, we've got our interviews, we've got these conference previews, we've got recruiting classes, whatever you might need. Green Screens Media on Twitter. Check that out. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. And it would not be a conference preview without Kalen swinging through. Put it
right
straight
there.
in.
Right into the veins, both arms.
Welcome in, Kalen.
Do it. What's up, Kalen? Welcome back. Absolutely. Thanks for checking into the comments. You too. We see you hanging out there in the old lobby. We see you there hanging out. Drop us a line. Just say, hey, junk up deuce, whatever you want to do. Put the fire emoji in. Just drop it in. Say what's up. Say hi. First time or long time. Thanks for the vine. Whatever you want to do. Drop it in there. Like and subscribe, like Eric said. Follow everybody here on X. Follow our guy at The Real Napier, our guy Chris, who you've seen on the top 20 countdown as well. So let's get to it, boys. No more riffraff. Right to the SEC. Last year, of course, the regular season title was won by Alabama, who squeaked by those Texas A&M, those fighting Texas A&M Aggies by a game to claim the SEC crown. And then in the conference tournament, Bama doubled up against the Aggies, winning that title 82-63 in a bit of a drubbing. As I mentioned in the open, 8 bids for this conference last year. Alabama, of course, the 1 seed. Tennessee, a 4 seed. Kentucky, a 6 seed. The Aggies are a 7 seed. Mizzou, a 7 seed. Arkansas, an 8 seed. Obviously, outperformed that a little bit. Auburn was a 9 seed. And, of course, Mississippi State, an 11 seed. Goodness gracious, boys. These are some tournament teams in this conference. And according to KenPom Metrics, this was the 4th best conference in the country with 10 of those 14 teams inside the top 100. All right, that's enough with that. Headlines now. Of course, we always start off with Eric the Blue. What do we need to know about the SEC?
Man, last year we had some of the highest ranked teams in the entire country coming out of this conference. And now heading to this year, it bears the question, like, is there a dominant team in the conference, right? Like, looking down the AP polls, you gotta scroll a little bit before you see the first team that's registering there at number 14, right? So I think this conference will be uber competitive on a night in and night out basis, but whether or not they have that one team that's head and shoulders above the rest is very much so an open question. Even over the Big 12, who is bringing on some AAC teams, they might not be ready for prime time. Like we love talking about the level of competition in that conference, but the SEC might have them edged out, right? We did the Big 10 the other day. That's largely competitive outside of Minnesota. Sorry for the Golden Gophers. They've got Purdue, Michigan State in the top 5. And then outside of, maybe South Carolina, you can make an argument for really every team here, right? So it's going to make for a fun year, just how competitive and how much parity there is in this league. And the storyline it almost became a punchline when the transfer portal first opened up. I mean, every one of these teams got busy acquiring new players, plugging in tailor-made pieces into their roster by way of the transfer portal. 11 of our top 50 transfers entered this conference over the course of the offseason. As a whole, you had teams like Alabama. You had screenshots of Eric Musselman calling people the second they announced they were going into the portal. LSU, Florida, Ole Miss, right? They're still waiting on some waivers. Teams just completely transformed their rosters through the transfer portal. So, whenever that's the case, the $1 million question, which team can get all of these new pieces to gel and play in a cohesive fashion? Whoever does, and arguably whoever does that the fastest, is probably the one who has the inside track on this league.
Yeah, first of all, the fact that, again, I'm going to harp on this, the fact that we still don't know if these players are going to be cleared to play on these teams. We're 2 weeks out. It's ridiculous. All right, let's move on now. Let's get to the old captain's comments here. Mike, what should we know about the SEC from your perspective?
I looked at the three-point shooting in this conference. It was 32nd. That's pretty low. Almost dead last year of all conferences in three-point shooting. 11 teams shot below 34%. So got to find some shooting here, guys. Eric talked about the transfers. To me, it's which one of those transfers or which set of transfers comes in to be a critical shooting piece. Looking at Florida, Alabama, Auburn, those kind of stick out as teams that added three-point shooters, and we'll talk about those transfer classes later. And, of course, I have to say, in college hoops, the three ball's kind of like 4 points at times in these tough conference games. So looking forward to seeing, who can improve their outside shooting to give them a better chance. And, of course, cannot bury the lead maybe. Last headline is Kentucky and their wild offseason, the Blue Blood, bringing in a ton of freshmen. Didn't know if they were going to have anybody else on the roster. Thought they were going to lose Antonio Reeves. He ends up being back, helping out with their shooting woes that potentially could have had there. And then you also have the Bob Huggins situation where you free up Trey Mitchell, and it felt like the next day he was a Kentucky commit, which was pretty interesting. And now all of a sudden they're a top 15 to 20 type team. So, what a roller coaster ride, kind of like Michigan we talked about the other day. But here we are, a couple of weeks away from the season, less than a few weeks.
Yeah, I would say that's the kind of brow wiping that would need to be done after something like that. And, especially when you play in a conference where teams try to play in the 50s, the three-point shot does feel like 4 points at
Mississippi
times.
State and Tennessee.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to get it a couple of times, so that definitely ups the ante there. Looks like we got another comment here from our pal Mitt.
Mitt, what's up, man?
Coming on back.
Mitt,
what's going on, Mitt? What up, guys? Love. Hey, thanks for dropping in, man. Appreciate that. Good to see you back. Just like Mitt did, you could jump in those comments. Just say what's up. Let us know you're hanging out with us. We see you out there. Leave a comment, like, subscribe if you haven't. That's the headlines, y'all. Let's get on. We like to do this. If you hung out with us, and we've done every single conference, not the Ivy League, every single conference across the country, aside from our last show, the Big 12 coming up, which, make sure you have those notification bells turned on and ready for that one, because that's a doozy. But if you know it, we do the headlines, and then the next thing we're going to talk about the people coming back from this conference, returning players within the SEC. So let's go ahead and start with the Texas A&M Aggies. Been getting a little bit of a little rub lately as a contender by some guys out there thinking there might be some value there on some bets. been seeing the Aggies name thrown out there. So some returning players now for the Aggies: Wade Taylor, Tyrece Radford, and Henry Coleman all coming back. Taylor and Radford, the guards. Taylor averaged 16.3 points, 4 dimes, 36% from three, which, yes, you know me, 35% is where you got to be for me to be effective here, and 36 is good enough. 1.7 steals for Taylor. Love that. Radford is 13.3 points and 5.3 boards. Then, of course, Henry Coleman, the forward, 6'8", 245 pounds, averaged 9 points and 5.5 boards. Mike, the Aggies have the most percentage of points returning in the conference, right? And that could be a big reason why a lot of people are thinking there's sneaky play here. But, of course, obviously, we mentioned in the top, razor-thin margin, finishing second place last year for the regular season title, and then obviously making it there to the championship game as well. So it feels like the Aggies are right on the cusp.
Yeah, absolutely, right on the cusp. And did I draw the short straw here with having to talk about the Aggies as a resident Longhorn here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll say some nice things here. These returning guys, man, it's a very, very strong core. I mean, on paper, you really got to like what this team has. I mean, strong guard play, it checks the box. You have experience at forward. And then continuity, which we know how important that is. We've talked to a bunch of coaches talking about just how much value there is in that continuity piece. So, with Wade Taylor, I'm a little surprised that he's the conference preseason player of the year. But he was phenomenal last year. He took his game to a new level. The only knock on him is he struggled in big moments. I mean, you look at the SEC tournament final, did not play very well. The first round exit in the tournament, where they lost to Penn State. You combine both of those, he shot 5 for 26. So, got to pump it up in the biggest moments. Tyrece Radford, I mean, one of my favorite guards to watch. He plays like a big man, a great rebounder. He's really improved his scoring. I think he's just a great fit next to Taylor, who's more of a kind of a scoring, score first type guard. And then you got the big man Coleman. He's a bruising power forward. He started 67 games the last 2 years after transferring from Duke after his freshman year, and now he's going into a senior year. He knows what his role is. He knows that he needs to obviously crash the glass and then give him some offense from time to time, and really it's just one of those things where it's a kind of a collection of pieces, right, that make this team very strong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The graphics department coming through there, getting the Aggies up on the screen. Got to love that. Radford, Taylor, and Coleman, of course, coming back for the Aggies. Let's move on now to one of the aforementioned teams that likes to play in the 50s. Of course, the Tennessee Volunteers, bringing back this trio: Santiago Vescovi, and it's triple. It's not double J, JEFFJARRET Intercontinental Champion Jeff Jarrett. No, this is triple J. This is Josiah Jordan James, big man for Tennessee, of course, and Zakai Zeigler there. Vescovi, 12.5, 4.5, 3 dimes, 1.8 steals. If you're gonna play a guy from Tennessee in DFS, a lot of times it was Vescovi. We talked about him a lot on our DFS shows last year. Josiah Jordan James, 10 points, 5 boards, just over a steal per. And, of course, Zeigler, the point guard distributor, 5.5 dimes and 2 steals per with 10 points. Biggest upside in the conference here, Eric, in my opinion, in terms of the trios that we're going to talk about. But the consistency, that may be a question mark, and then some health concerns as well.
Yeah, look, health is going to be a through line for a lot of the teams that we cover, and with this trio in particular, when they're healthy, if they're playing up to their full potential, I mean, there probably isn't a big 3 with their ceiling in this conference. Certainly in the conversation in the country, right? Vescovi, we'll start off there, just the elite, like picture perfect college guard, right? Like, great shooter. He can set up others around him. He's real strong defensively. Like Mike talked about a little bit with Taylor earlier. Vescovi can probably step up a little bit more when it matters most, right? That's really the last thing that he needs to cement his legacy. Last year, shot 32% from the field in 3 tournament games. So, clearly when the light is brightest and on him, really want to see him rise to the occasion. Triple J coming in, entering his 5th year. The Vols just need this guy to stay healthy, right? Like, he's so versatile at the wing on both ends of the floor, and he's just an absolute Swiss Army knife when he's healthy and when he's able to be on the court for his guys. And then Zeigler, this is, again, a story of health, right? He tore his ACL in late February, and that really changed the entire trajectory for this team, right? Like, he was a guy that could break down the defense. He was a guy that could get others involved. He was also a menace on the defensive side himself, right? He's kind of undersized a bit, but still crafty player, can poke a few out. Gave it his all on the defensive end. And look, if Tennessee wants to make another Sweet 16 run, which arguably with this roster, I'd say they probably have their sights set on going further than that. Zeigler really needs to be the guy. Obviously, he has to come back from this injury. So these three very similar question marks with all of them, but if it all lines up, I mean, I think we're looking at a elite trio for Coach Barnes here.
Well, we like to talk about how they first to 50 wins a game against Tennessee, but the thing, there's some good basketball being played over there. And when you're the number one defense in the country, you can afford to play first to 60. Okay. And with all of the injuries that were there, they a 4 seed, Eric, you talk about the Sweet 16 run, that sort of thing. Like, there was still some really good basketball being played there. A lot of that it's Rick Barnes is a very, very good college basketball coach. All right, Tennessee Volunteers there. Moving on now to Mississippi State. Tolu Smith, Dashawn Davis, and DJ Jeffries. Smith is just a scoosh under 7 feet tall. 15.7 points, 8.5 boards. Davis averaged 8.7 points, 3.5 assists, and 1.7 steals. And Jeffries coming in at 8.8 points and 6.5 boards. All right, so Smith, injury, right? Going to keep him out for a little bit. So Davis and Jeffries are going to have to do a lot of this heavy lifting early, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach Shand, he's done a phenomenal job really putting this program together. Look, I don't love that they're terrible from three, but that's just kind of the way they play ball. That's going to be a huge storyline for them. But I think they're primed for a really good year. The unfortunate thing is that Tolu injuries. It seems like it's been a little bit of a theme early for us. He's a preseason first-team player on the SEC, one of the top bigs in the country. And yeah, he's going to miss some time. So unfortunately, we'll have to kind of go as that goes. The expectation is he's back for conference play, so we'll see if that happens. But Keyshawn Murphy and West Virginia transfer Jimmy Bell, they're gonna have to fill some pretty big shoes here. We could have added Shaquille Moore and Cameron Matthews to the list as guys that
for sure.
Returning that make an impact. These guys played 26 minutes per game, but we ended up going with Davis and Jeffries, and these guys are going to have to do some heavy lifting with Tolu out. Davis, I think, is someone that can do that. He came over from Oregon State last year. He was just real solid and above average point guard. He's an elite defender. His improvement this offseason with his shot selection and efficiency from the field, it's going to be critical for this team. The same can be said for Jeffries. Both of these guys shot under 40% from the field. But like Davis, Jeffries is a really good defender. And so this obviously kind of mirror Tennessee, right? Like, Tennessee a little bit better three-point shooting team. Obviously, number one defense. Mississippi State couldn't shoot it at all from outside, and they were still a top 10 defense, keeping them in the most games and then getting them into the tournament. So, obviously, offensive development, especially losing Tolu Smith, is going to be critical for Mississippi State. And I think that's going to be, a significant headline because before Smith's injury, they were talked about as, being one of the maybe top 4 or 5 teams in this conference.
That's tough. Man, injuries play such a – don't you wish you could just do like a video game and just turn injuries off and like just let this stuff play out with that would be great, man. So much to be said for that. All right, again, that if you play defense in this game, it's going to keep you in a lot of games, even if you can't throw it in the ocean, if you were standing on the ship, okay? And that was the story at Mississippi State last season. But either way, we'll see where they can go. Tolu Smith out. Man, that's tough. Would love to see him on their full speed. All right. Move on from the Bulldogs now to a handful more here in the SEC. Returners, of course, Mark Sears, Antonio Reeves, Riley Kugel, Matthew Murrell, and Johni Broome. Of course, let's start with Sears in Alabama, Eric. the 6'1", 185-pound guard. 12.5 points, 2.5 times, 35% from three. Okay, fine. I'll allow it. So that's fine. 1.2 steals as well. All right, Eric, this is no longer the Brandon Miller show. He's off to the pros, right? A lot of turnover on this roster as well. So is Sears going to guide the Crimson Tide? You know, he's got to have that steady hand of a leader here if they're gonna pull off another great season.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about a lot of the pieces coming in and some of the younger players primed to step up, but Sears is a key cog for them, right? Like, he was the second leading scorer behind Brandon Miller last year. He's a combo guard that, you know, he can really shoot or he can get others involved, right? There's a lot of versatility to his game on the offensive side. His transition from Ohio to the SEC was actually, you know, one of the success stories, right? You know, like a lot of guys we talked about, you know, whether or not they can jump up to the high majors ranks. I think it's fair to say that Sears, you know, checked all the boxes there, right? Like, you know, we want to see his efficiency from the field improve a little bit. You know, that's going to come as he gets another year in this system, as he gets another year playing in the SEC. So yeah, with the sort of vacuum that Brandon Miller left behind, I like Sears to be in a position to step up and help fill it.
Mike, I'm going to come right to you here with Antonio Reeves from Kentucky, 6'5", 205-pound shooting guard, 14.5 points on 40% from three. Yeah. Love that. Yeah. All right, long drawn-out story this offseason on his future, but he returns as a very key piece for the Wildcats.
Yeah, outside shooting. You got a team full of 8 freshmen. I mean, his experience might be more valuable. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe right on par, right? His experience along with his outside shooting, critical for Coach Cal. So, you know, although this team's littered with one-and-done prospects, really how Reeves performs is going to be very, very, very crucial for the Wildcats in their postseason. There's been some miscues out there recently. Obviously, they haven't made the tournament or made the second weekend of the tournament since 2019. So they say you know, some of the best moves are the ones that are not made, and this may reign very true for Reeves' return here to Lexington.
In the land of the transfer portal, sometimes just hanging around will make all the difference in the world. Riley Kugel, shooting guard from Florida. Of course, the 6'5", 210-pound shooting guard, averaged 10 points and 38% from three last year. Over 17 points in the last 10 games last season, Eric. Big-time potential coming into his sophomore year.
Yeah, Kugel, look, he's one of my favorite players that nobody's really talking about, right? Like, he got off to kind of a slow start to his freshman year, but he's got deep range, right? Like, he's one of these guys where you got to start pressing on him a little bit once he gets over half court. And, you know, there's upside for him to be a stronger playmaker in year 2, right? So, you know, looking at the system that he's in, Coach Golden has a pretty good track record of strong guard play. You know, Kugel really fits that mold nicely. He's got the potential to play his way into the NBA draft conversation when the year's all said and done. So, you know, we talk about where the Gators will go in this upcoming season. And for me, you know, Kugel's development and success has a lot to do with how that story will be told.
Absolutely. Definitely one of those, like, not a lot of people just are shouting Riley Kugel from the rooftops here, you know, but maybe we should be. Maybe there should be a little bit more Kugel, you know, whatever you want to do. Shout it from the highest peaks in your local area. All right, Matthew Murrell, another shooting guard here, this time from Ole Miss, 6'4", 200 pounds. These guards, these are not your 2A level guard size, okay, in Texas high school. No, these are big boys. This is the SEC, the land of the big boys. 6'4", 200 pounds, of course, from Murrell. 14.5 points, 2.5 assists, 1.1 steals. Yeah, like, you know, Chris Beard, sort of.
Who's that?
Yeah, man. Okay, if you don't know, if you're first time tuning in, excuse me, if you're first time tuning in, you don't know, Mike and I are right in the Austin area here. The whole show, all of us are up and down the I-35 corridor right here. But, yeah, so the Chris Beard stuff, a little bit of a sour taste, I would say. But he moved on, obviously, and there was never any doubting his ability to coach and recruit. and keep players on that he wanted, Mike. And obviously to keep Murrell here, it's a big deal. He's all league, all league caliber, you know.
Absolutely. And man, even more important when we don't know who's going to be on this Ole Miss roster, because you have Brandon Murray from Georgetown awaiting. Jay, one of your favorites, Musa Cisse, he's still waiting on his transfer waiver. So who knows what this roster is going to end up looking like. You know, and that's a critical piece to get back, right? So, man, with Murrell, he's going to do a ton of heavy lifting, especially if Murray isn't going to be on this roster. He's now a senior. He's really a guy that hunts his shot. You know, for Ole Miss to really have any success without those two transfers, you know, coming in, I mean, he's got to be more efficient. So it's going to be an interesting year one for Chris Beard. But Murrell's going to obviously have a huge say in how the season goes for sure.
Last year, but certainly not least, Johni Broome, the center from Auburn, 6'10", 240 pounds, 14.2 points, 8.4 rebounds, 2.4 blocks, my goodness gracious, 26.5 minutes too. This guy's not even playing 30, 32 minutes, 14, 8.5, and 2.5. Like, get real, okay? Pardon me. One of our top 20 returning players overall, just absolutely transitioning last year from Morehead State. A lot of times, Eric, like, you get that sort of when you're transferring up from the mid-major to the high major, it doesn't really translate. No. Broome did just fine for himself.
Bruce Pearl, noted breadhead. Look at me in my eyes. Play Johni Broome 35 minutes. 26.5 minutes, this guy is absolutely stuffing the stat sheet. 53% from the field. You know, showed a little something from in terms of outside shooting for the first time in his career. His defense is spectacular, right? 8.5 boards, 2.5 blocks in those limited minutes. Like Auburn, if Auburn can get him up to that 17 and 11 range that we saw, you know, during his time at Morehead State, I think that's going to come with more minutes. Like it's the key to how far this team will go, right? So like absolutely one of my favorite players to watch. Like you mentioned, Jay, one of our top 20 returning players in college basketball. Bruce, I know you're listening. Give him some run.
Better now. Do it. All right. Sorry. Okay. Make sure you guys are smashing those like and subscribe buttons. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on One and Done. We are live with the SEC preview show. Go back and watch we previewed every single conference in the country, not the Ivy League, and we are going to finish up with the Big 12 the next time out, but that's all good. All that info is good. You know, maybe if the NCAA figures this transfer waiver thing out, be a little more clarity.
Just
these
a little.
previews of these teams are good all the way back. Go back, go watch them all. Like Eric said, they're in playlists. Are you looking for transfer stuff? Are you looking for returning play? Are you looking for, you know, top team? Whatever. Go look. Go like and subscribe. Turn on notification bell so you don't miss what we're doing. Leave us a comment too if you're hanging out with us. Just say what's up. Chunk of dudes. Fire emoji. Oh, it's jazz hands. Not other. Would this be fire? Could you call this fire? Is that what fire is? Somebody said this would be fire for somebody. Do whatever you got to do in that live chat. And if you're watching later on, leave us a comment. So many comments lately have been coming in after these shows, and we appreciate that love afterwards for y'all watching after the fact. Get in those comments. Let us know what you think. Do it now if you're live, too. Get in there. Hop in. All right. Next, of course, key transfers. And because of the type of freshman, Mike is just salivating at the freshman class. Okay, so not just key transfers into the conference anymore, but a ton of freshmen as well. We might as well just start with the Kentucky freshman class, Mike. I know I didn't feel like you would let me get through any more of this without talking about this freshman class. So Kentucky's freshman class, obviously, Justin Edwards, 5-star. There's going to be a theme here, okay? Don't think that's the only one. 6'7", 180 pounds, small forward. Number 3 composite ranking in this class. Aaron Bradshaw, and he's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. center at number 5 composite ranking. Oh, and then all the way down to number 6 in the composite rankings, DJ Wagner, the 5-star point guard. Yeah, 5'5", 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-star point guard, 6'3", 170 pounds. And that's not it. This is an 8-man freshman class, Mike. And of course, who better to handle an 8-man freshman class than Coach Cal? Of course, as he looks to get this team back to the second weekend of the tournament since I can't believe it was 2019 it's been, man.
2019, isn't that weird? It's like weird to say out loud. But yes, we have to talk about now. Look, we talked about this class in detail on our preview, one of our previews during the offseason on recruiting classes, but we got to hit on it because obviously they are a major factor coming into this conference. And look, we're not really going to touch on Rob Dillingham, who's a borderline 5-star, Reed Shepard, a 4-star, Joey Hart, Jordan Burks, even you got the big man from overseas since he got some injuries, with some of the big men that you have on campus and Visick. So, hey, all these guys, all of them, at least the guys, the top 4 or 5 here at the top are definitely NBA prospects and one-and-done candidates. I think Edwards is the most intriguing. He's got supreme athleticism at his size. He's most likely going to start as a 3. I mean, top 5 pick, maybe a top 3 pick in the NBA draft if things go according to plan. And then with Bradshaw, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait to see him. He's out another month or so with the foot injury that he sustained during the offseason. When he's back, their defense is going to look a lot different. The guy can just block shots. He's naturally gifted. He's so versatile. He can shoot threes. This is going to be crazy. He's going to be a game changer. So, watching Kentucky the first 5 or 6 weeks is not what they're going to look like, 12 to 14 weeks from now. So, you have to factor in the battle at point guard. I think it's going to be DJ Wagner, but Rob Dillingham played really, really well this offseason. They're both crazy good. They both have supreme handles. I could see them playing together. They're natural scorers with not really outside shooting threats. So I don't know how much you can play them together, but this group's going to be a major storyline. Reed Shepard might get some minutes off the bench. You got to factor that, Antonio Reeves and Trey Mitchell are going to get, probably 30 minutes a game. So, what are you doing here? 3 of the top 6, right? And you got some other guys that are right there as fringe 5-stars and some high 4-stars. So, man, I cannot wait to see these guys. Now, there's some rumors. I don't know if it's true that they lost to Chicago State by 30. It's got to be a joke. You can never believe anything. A lot of
freshmen,
man, but it's a lot of freshmen.
And
maybe Coach Cal is doing the Team USA thing from the from the Dream Team. So I don't know, but these guys are just too talented to be held down for very long, and they're not going to look the same, in November that they are in March. So that's kind of scary as well.
You talked about how a lot of them are NBA prospects, and you know how I know that? Because that's who Cal recruits. Okay? All these guys, NBA prospects, maybe not hot, maybe not great. They're NBA prospects because that's who he recruits. That's who he brings onto his campus where he is. That's what he does. It's amazing to me that they haven't figured it out and gotten into that second weekend in the last 5 years of 2019, right? So I don't know, man. I think fun. Mike, you said fun. These sort of transformations of the young teams in college basketball, learning, because they're all great players, but just like the step up from college to pros is a big deal. High school to college, that might be an even bigger jump in terms of the level of competition at times. And
definitely the level of competition, man. Usually you're the best player in your team. Nowadays, you got a bunch of different
but comparing it to from college to the NBA, like that, some of these high school players, the jump in talent that they're playing against at the college level from where they were in high school is just such a huge talent.
Yeah, you got grown men, right? 22, 23-year-old, 50-year seniors.
This is it'll be fun to watch. So, of course, they're all NBA prospects. Of course they are. All right, let's move on to Arkansas now. And I'm not going to take my shirt off to celebrate the fact that we're talking about Arkansas. I will not, at least not right now. Not yet. Mike, I'm going to stray away from the freshmen for a while, if you don't mind, and go over to Eric here for some actual transfer news here. These guys coming into play For the Razorbacks, Khalif battled the combo guard coming in from the Temple Owls, 6'5", 185 pounds, averaged 18 points, 35% from three, and just happened to fall into number 25 in the top 300 transfer big board over at drroto.com. Tramon Mark, of course, the old lefty transferring in from the Houston Cougars. The wingman is 6'6" and 185 pounds. Averaged 10 points, 5 boards, and just over a steal per for the Cougs last year. Number 39 on the top 300. Again, earlier on with the freshmen, they're all top 10 on the – okay, so guess what? Guess what Ellis is? He's 52 on the top 300. This is no joke, this transfer class for Arkansas. And, of course, Ellis, the former Louisville point guard, 6'3", 180 pounds, averaged 17.7 points, 4.5 dimes, and, of course, like I said, 52 on the top 300 transfer big board at drroto.com. Nick Smith, gone. Anthony Black, gone. Ricky Council, gone. Incoming trio from across the land. They sifted through all of the land and landed in Fayetteville, I guess. But either way, they all bring a very unique skill set, and this is a talented team for sure, Eric.
Look, it's going to be tough to replace some of those names that you mentioned here a moment ago. But look, if you've got the transfer portal at your disposal, right, you can sift through 1,500 or so players over the course of the offseason. Like, you can put something together, and that's exactly what Coach Muss has done here. Looking at this trio, right, Battle. He comes in, he's an exceptional scorer, right, almost 18 points a game, like you mentioned. He kind of got lost in the sauce with that train wreck of a season for Temple last year. He's got great size. He's got good handles for his size. He fits the type of scheme that Musselman wants to trot out there. You can break down defenses off the dribble. You can get up and down the floor. Just, absolutely a bucket getter and a guy that, fits in very nicely to what the Razorbacks are looking to do. Tramon Mark, he comes in from, a championship pedigree program in Houston, right? Like, as stable as it gets. And he's more of a wing with great size, super strong defensively. Can probably shoot a little bit better than the 33% he displayed last year, but ultimately just like a super solid foundational leadership type of piece that can give Musselman what he's looking for to stuff the stat sheet. And then, lastly, we've got Ellis, another player that's coming over from a messy situation. He was over there in that dumpster fire that was the Louisville season last year. He's more of the playmaker of the group, right? Like he averaged almost 18 points, but really that was just kind of out of necessity, right? He's a much better distributor than that heavily weighted point stat line might indicate, right? So it'll be him and Devontae David that are gonna kind of split responsibilities at the point guard for this team. And speaking of Devontae David, he's someone that we considered spotlighting in our returners. He's right there on the fringe. Had a great year last year for Davis there in this offense, and now he's going to be an X factor for the Razorbacks for the upcoming season.
Yeah, Davis is going to get his run too, but I think we're going to see I think the type of season we're going to see out of Ellis is maybe like 12 points, but we're going to see like 7 dimes. Like, I think we're going to see that assist total just shoot up through the roof on a talented team like this. So regardless, definitely, of course, Coach Muss brings in these guys. So either way, moving on from those Razorbacks. I'm sorry, Fayetteville, if I offended you earlier. I'm sorry. Like, I was just saying, like, that's it. It is what it is. Anyways, moving on now to Alabama. Grant Nelson. Oh man, we love us some Grant Nelson here on One and Done for sure. Grant Nelson, Aaron Estrada, and Latrell Wrightsell. Let's start with Nelson, big man from North Dakota, 6'11", 230, 18 points, 9.3 boards, 1.7 blocks, and yeah, top 20, number 18 on that top 300 board. Aaron Estrada coming in from Hofstra, 20 points, 5.5 boards, 4.3 dimes, 1.5 steals, with 37% from deep for the 6'3", 190-pound guard. Number 24 on the top 300. And then Wrightsell actually is a little bit farther down, but still coming into the top 300 at 194. Wrightsell is coming in from Cal State Fullerton, averaged 16.5 points, 4.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals on 38% from three. A little bit of everything there from Wrightsell, doing big things for Cal State Fullerton last year. We talked about how much the Tide lost when we were talking about Sears returning earlier, Mike. But Sears returning earlier. But these three right now providing the immediate reinforcements for that.
Yeah, Jay, love what Coach Oates did in the portal. I mean, you got the bona fide star that we love talking about in Grant Nelson. You just watch his film, and it's like, I'm surprised this guy's not in the NBA.
Right.
An elite athleticism, can obviously improve the outside shot. So really plays from like your 16 feet and in. But he's got handles, which is crazy when you watch his film. But he's also a force defensively. He can block your shots. Spectacular athlete. Aaron Estrada, I think, is going to be a name that by the middle of the season, a lot of people are going to be talking about. He can play the one or the two. I think he's going to have to play the one for this team. He's a great playmaker and just gives max effort on every play. A tremendous outside shooter. I don't think he's going to have any problems transferring over to the high majors here. And then another cat that can shoot, man. I talked about I need some three-point shooting this year from some of these guys. And Latrell Wrightsell, like just a sniper, a guy that's going to get you buckets from the wing. I mean, he's no slouch defensively either. Interested to see what the curve is with him stepping into the power conference level. But if he's able to make a similar leap, like I think Estrada is going to do, look out. And this is going to be an upstart team for sure.
I'm pretty sure I've seen film of Grant Nelson taking people off the dribble from the top of the key and going between his legs. Like it's not a joke. The handles that this guy has, it's serious stuff. A bona fide star, Mike, like you said, for sure. We got some comments. Let's go to Kaylin first, checking in again.
Big
Suey. I don't even know how they do that. How do they? I know there's a whole. I think they do like a hand thing. I never noticed I can shake one hand faster than the other one.
Yeah.
I can't shake. Anyways, I don't know how to do the woo pig suey thing here, but either way, yeah. I mean, it's the Razorbacks will be fun.
I don't like
to watch
the way my face
sure.
looks on comments in this box right here.
oh yeah, blocking out the cat. That's all right, Kaylin. Why don't you comment more so we can block Mike's face off a little bit? It's all right. We'll be good there. We got another comment, I believe. Who else we got checking in with us tonight? The Back It Up Bench podcast.
We got my guy JB checking in. He's doing big things over at the Back It Up Binge podcast. We appreciate you swinging through. Check out all the stuff that he's got going on over there. Definitely building up a fun channel with the Back It Up Binge. Appreciate you swinging through, JB.
Good stuff. Thanks, JB. Yeah, thanks for checking in with us. You too could check in those live chats. Just drop an emoji if you want. Fire. We said this was fire. Okay, this could be fire, right? We could do it. Yes. Okay, fire. That's right. Fire, baby. All right. The next trio coming in here to the conference. We're going to stay transfer portal here, Mike. No more freshmen, all right? And you got your fill, okay? No more freshmen. All right. Now let's go here down to Florida. Walter Clayton, Micah Handlogten, and Zion Pullen. Of course, Clayton transferring in from Iona. The guard is 6'2", 195 pounds, 16.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, 3.2 assists on 43% from three. Yes, sir, all day and twice on Sunday. With that, please. And he's 1.8 steals too. Playing the D and shooting the three, number 29 on the top 300. Handlogten, of course, he's 7'1", and you can't teach that. Transferring in from Marshall, 7.6 points, just a smidgen under 10 boards per, and 2.3 blocks. Big body, number 45 on the top 300 board. And then Zion Pullen, transferring in from UC Riverside, still talented enough to land at number 72 on the top 300 board after averaging 18.3 points, 4.4 boards, and 4.2 assists on fire here. We're back to it. Fire, 39% from three. Big year 2 for Coach Golden, Eric. We talked about the Kugel coming back. We talked about Kugel coming back. He also has Wing Will Richard. You say that 5 times fast. Wing Will Richard coming back. And then, of course, one of the best transfer classes in the country, headlined by these 3 ballers right here.
I mean, yeah, like there was a point like a week or 2 into the transfer season where we thought that Todd Golden might be winning the transfer portal outright, and obviously with some of the names that came in later, it evened out a bit more. But I mean, this Florida transfer class is super strong, right? Like not listed here on the graphic. You've got Tyrese Samuel, you've got EJ Jarvis coming in, but the 3 that we have listed here are the ones that we think will make arguably the biggest impact for the Gators this year. You've got Clayton first, like just an absolute rock star under Rick Pitino when he was coaching at Iona. That was where Clayton played last season. Now he's coming home to Florida, just an awesome scorer, right? More of an off-the-ball guard. This team was 313th in three-point percentage last year. He gives the Gators a bit more pop from deep, a little bit more shot creation. Also helping from outside, Zion Pullen, right? He's a guy that can score at all 3 levels. The impact from 3 just can't be understated, right? Just completely a bucket from range. Gives Golden another weapon there in the backcourt. Obviously can fill it up. And then Handlogten, like, it feels like it's probably going to be a bit more of a platoon approach to try to replace Colin Castleton, right? Like you're not going to replace him, flat out with one guy, but he at least is a big piece of that puzzle. So awesome class for Todd Golden and the Gators, and these 3 are in a spot to really move the needle this season.
Yeah, I think we could make an argument for Samuel or Jarvis to be if we had like a 5 wide graphic maybe. I know the graphics budget only allows for 3 on the screen at once, but if we had one, you could definitely make an argument that Samuel and Jarvis could be on it. If you think they should be, or maybe somebody else for the Gators coming in, maybe a more impactful player incoming here, drop us a line in the chat or the comments, of course. Let's move on west from the Gators down old Baton Rouge. Them LSU, them go Tigers. LSU Tigers, go Tigers. Jalen Cook, Jordan Wright, and Will Baker for LSU, of course. Jalen Cook coming in from Tulane, 20 points, 19.9. If you want to split hairs here, but 19.9 points for Cook, 5 dimes, 1.8 steals, 35% from 3, definitely good enough there. Oh wait, number 6 on the top 300, checking in, baby. Of course, top 10 player in the portal according to our Capitan right there on the screen over at drroto.com. Jordan Wright, wingman, transferring in from Vandy, 6'6", 230, 10.5 points, 5 boards, 2 dimes, 1.1 steals, a member of the top 100 as well. Will Baker, the well-traveled Will Baker, transferring in from Nevada this time, 7 feet tall. You can't teach that. Of course, he got 13.7 points and 5 boards on 36% from 3 last year, a top 150 member of the big board. All right. Coach Golden, we talked about Coach Golden year 2 being important. Coach McMahon is looking to rebound from abysmal 2 conference wins with this very impressive transfer haul, Mike.
Yeah, we're going to spotlight these 3 as well, kind of like Florida, but like Florida, also top 304 Damian Collins from Kentucky, who's just oozing with talent. Carlos Stewart comes in from a very good Santa Clara team. But we're going to talk about these 3 guys, Cook, Wright, Baker. Look, Cook, I had higher on my board than a lot of people at number 6. I've watched a lot of him this past season, and he's one of my favorite players. Like, I just think he has a game-changing ability at this level as well. I mean, playing in the AAC, that's not a slouch conference. I wouldn't technically call it, obviously, a mid-major. It's going to be more of like a power 9 type conference. So he's got that pedigree too. Like, he started his career at LSU. So as a recruit, he was being recruited by a lot of the top programs in the country. Ended up obviously transferring to Tulane, where he's balled out the last couple of years. Coach McMahon, like, it seemed like he really didn't have anybody to get his offense going from the guard position last year. It was kind of like spin that wheel, right? That we played a lot in DFS. But with Cook, you're getting a lot more stability at that position, and someone that can be an instant playmaker. And then with Wright, how much we love to talk about Vanderbilt, just a solid player. Like, he's not going to wow you with anything, right? But he's just tough as nails. I think this team could use some of that. And then Baker, he's another very experienced player. Jay, we know a lot about Baker, right? Started his career here at Texas. He can shoot the three from the 5 spot, which is very valuable. Last year, McMahon, he brought in a bunch of mid-major transfers. But this year, it seems like McMahon's prioritizing, transfer from stronger conferences, which is really interesting. He brought a lot of guys in last year from his Murray State program. Obviously, KJ Williams was a baller. He brought in, the big man, Coleman, who is now transferring back to the mid-major ranks. It just seemed like those guys just couldn't really, fit the bill at LSU, and obviously with 2 conference runs, but it looks like he's going a different route, trying to get these guys that are a little more proven at these power spots, Jay. So very interesting. I think we got a couple of comments coming through. So if we want to pull those up, they got Collins from Kentucky. Yeah, unfortunately,
yep.
Collins, I believe he had a family member pass in the middle of last year, towards late last year, and he's from the Houston area. There were some thoughts that maybe Texas could get involved. Obviously, Houston between Baton Rouge and Texas not very far, so he's in the area now. But supremely talented. We talked about Lance Ware. These big men that get off of Kentucky and find 30 minutes in places, sometimes they break out. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking a lot about Damian Collins at the 4 spot for LSU and being an absolute impact player. So definitely a great get there. And then I think we got Samuel the Sniper, who we haven't heard from in a long time.
Talk to me.
Auburn family, talk to me. I've been waiting for this night. Samuel, we got you on the docket, my friend. I need you to hang tight, my friend. I know we're going a little long, but we're cruising through this thing. So
won't be too long.
Yeah, Kalen won't be too long, man. They'll be better than people expect. Low key reloaded. Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to be pretty good last year because they got KJ and a bunch of guys from his system. Jalen Cook definitely is tough. So I think, you get some of these guys in these power conferences, you put them together and you can make some things happen for sure, Kalen.
Jalen Cook is.
Yeah, he's a good
player. No doubt about it. Yeah, the addition of Collins and Stewart cannot go unnoticed. It will not go unnoticed, of course. They might not start Stewart, I guess. I mean, that's the one thing I might say about that. But either way, if he's coming off and playing 25 minutes or whatever, he's going to bring that outside shooting and that untapped potential from Collins. It's just it could lead to some big old things. Yeah, all right, Samuel. Samuel, you did not have to wait long. The Sniper. I'm here to talk about the SEC. Let's go. We love this conference this year too, my guy. For real, we do. This is why we saved it. Not the very last year. It's not the curtain call.
Also because we're Big 12 homers.
We are Big 12 homers, but that's aside from that, we saved the SEC for next to last. But we do have some SEC love for sure, and we're gonna get you some Auburn love here.
Ooh, I see some Auburn action up there
with Denver Jones. But first, why don't we start with Dalton Connect here, transferring in from Northern Colorado, a top 30 player on the top 300 board, averaged 20 points, 7.2 boards, and 38% from deep. Now, got a little bit of a shooting situation. Oh, God, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. We got a good shooter here getting onto campus at Tennessee. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, look, I mean, this kid is the definition of a breakout mid-major star last year, right? Just awesome on the offensive side of the ball, can shoot the three, solid off the glass, right? Like going out and getting Connect was a huge add, especially after Ledlam ended up heading to St. John's through the transfer portal, right? Like, trying to nitpick his game, he could probably use to shore things up on the defensive end. Rick Barnes' teams are kind of okay at that, so you can expect him to develop on that side. But if nothing else, he fits the need, right? Like Tennessee's out here scoring 38 or 51 points a game. You get someone that can come in and make them splash, and it's really going to move the needle. So I love this ad.
Yeah, I agree on the Ledlam point, and I also think that USC upstate guard Jordan Gainey can give them some offense in the backcourt off the bench too. I mean, yeah, USC upstate, yeah, okay, but we like those microwave type players. Gainey can get off the bench and be that guy, another solid get in the portal For sure. All right, here we go. Samuel the Sniper, just for you. Denver Jones transferring in from Florida International to Auburn. Checked in at number 44 in that top 300, the 6'4", 205-pound guard. 20 points, 1.8 steals, 37% from deep. Mike, again, like, there's some great recruiting going on in this conference, definitely, and this is no exception.
Yeah, we'd spotlighted as a headline, man. The transfer portal recruiting, Eric brought it up, 11 of the top 50. And then I love the fact that there is outside shooting being addressed because they were 32nd in the country as a conference and during conference play, which is terrible. 11 teams under 33%. But now Bruce Pearl doing an excellent job going out and getting Jones. A big need. You needed shooting. The guy's efficient as well from the field. We'll see if it translates to the next level. Maybe a little bit of a drop as it comes down. But overall, like, this cat can really shoot. And Chad Baker-Mazara probably could have been up here as well. He's a guy that they grabbed out of the JUCO ranks. Can really shoot it as well. So I feel like Jones's role is a little bit more secure. I think they're probably both projected to start, but you know how it is trying to figure out who's going to start for some of these teams. These coaches kind of like to do some wonky things sometimes. So just a fantastic job. Georgia added a lot of shooting. Florida added a lot of shooting. LSU added a lot of shooting. Alabama added a lot of shooting. This is going to go a long way for these teams. Like, this 3-ball is going to be popping off now, and that can move the needle for sure.
I mean, it couldn't get any worse. I mean, I guess it technically could, but not by much, Aside from Jones there at Auburn, Channing Johnson, okay? It's not a name that a lot of people are going to it's not going to pop off necessarily. It'll be flashy name here. But 6'7", good athlete, does a little bit of everything, the kind of glue guy that you need that, you might not see him pop up in the stat sheet every single day, but the guy that you need on your team that can do a little bit of everything, and especially, you don't know how the D2 level, is that going to translate? We talked about that earlier. What is that going to look like? But it's almost like he has those intangibles that can transfer around no matter what level of basketball you play at. So Johnson's a guy that we should pay attention to at Auburn. Just wanted to toss that in there for sure. Let's move on down now to Connor Vanover, transferring to Mizzou from Oral Roberts. He's, oh my goodness, I forgot how tall this guy is. I look at this. I read this earlier.
Is that right?
We're in the preview. We're in the pre-show. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot Vanover 7'5", and I see it again, and it's just like he doesn't. Yeah, he looks 7'5", right? He does look 7'5", but he doesn't play 7'5" necessarily. He's just so smooth. Like, you don't think of that. But anyways, 12.7 points, 7.2 boards, 3.2 blocks. Of course, he's 7'5", and you can't teach that. Number 116 on the top 300, Eric. A lot to be excited about here for Tiger fans with Vanover.
Yeah, maybe Vanover's on that Hunter Dickinson plan where he's sprouting up like 3 or 4 inches after he transfers.
I love that. I loved when that happened. That meme.
Tremendous.
Such a Kansas move. Looking at last year for Dennis Gates, like, real solid inaugural year for him, right? 11-7 in the conference, 25-10 overall. But he's losing a lot of guys to graduation over the course of the offseason. So, Vanover's coming in and they're getting a two-way player. He's familiar with the SEC, right? He's bounced around a little bit. He started his career at Cal. He then played 2 years at Arkansas, went over to Oral Roberts last year. And that was really where it all seemed like it came together, right? He got major run for Oral Roberts, really showed what he could do at the collegiate level. And now he's coming in. He can bring shooting. He can bring shot blocking back to the SEC. He's going to be a huge piece for Mizzou this season.
Kaylin in the comments right here. That's amazing. Vanover needs to grow a pair and average 17 and 12. Well, we'll see. He's going to have a lot of opportunity with Kobe Brown gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's not – I mean, we're thinking about it, right, about Brown being gone. But I don't know. He's going to get a run at it. All right, putting us on the spot here. What's Vanover's averages at the end of the season? Eric.
Gosh.
Man, do I need to placate Kalen and say 17 and 12?
No,
I'll say
there's no way he grabs 12 rebounds in the SEC.
Yeah, no way. I was thinking more like 15 and 9 kind of thing.
I gotta come up with something different. All right, Mike, go ahead. What was yours?
I just don't know if they'll play more than 26 minutes or 27 minutes. So I'll put him at 14 and 7.5. There you go.
No, I'm going to 9 boards, but I'm going 14 and 9 for Vanover and over 3 blocks again, which will do just fine for sure in this conference. Yeah, I love what Vanover did at Oral Roberts last year. He's gonna it's not that game. He has the intangibles to transfer over no matter what. There,
he's 7'5".
Yeah, you can, and like I said, you can't teach that for sure. Nick Honor's back, but Iowa State transferred Caleb Grill, probably somebody we should be talking about a little bit too. There were issues at Iowa State, I know, but it might be that like little X factor, if you will, for them. And I mean, who else? Maybe John Tanji, I guess. Could be somebody else to consider there coming in from Colorado State.
Yeah, but Jay, these guys they're not Demoy Hodge. Like, that guy was such a beast last year. I don't know. We'll talk about Missouri a little bit later.
They can shoot the 3 ball, though. I mean, that's – which, again, in a conference that is a barren wasteland of outside shooting, it might make a difference, in this conference for sure. Noah Thomason transferring in from Niagara to Georgia. 6'4", 210 pounds. 19.5 points, just under 4 boards. He did get 3.5 dimes on 39% from 3. 152 on the top 300 board, Mike. This is a Georgia team that do you really have I know we're going to touch on the tiers later, talk about them in our world famous tier section, but the range of what we're dealing with here with this Georgia team, it's the range of outcomes are just extremely wide, and Thomason's play could really determine what side of the spectrum they end up on.
Yeah, a lot of different things could happen here with this Georgia team. There's no doubt though that Coach White, he's assembling a lot of talent. So I love Thomason's ability to score. It's just whether or not he can score at this particular level of competition. He's entering year 5. He's real versatile. I think he could probably start at point or even off the ball. I mean, Georgia has one of those under the radar type transfer classes, right? Like, no one's going to say they won the transfer portal or even put them in the top 10 or anything like that. But, RJ Melendez comes in from Illinois. He's a shooter. Jalen Deloach comes over from that VCU squad that was on that mass exodus. He finds his way over here to Georgia. And I think he's kind of an underrated big man. Russell Shewa from South Florida, like he's 7 feet, like 250, just a big body. So, maybe some underrated guys here that just really need the spotlight to see what they can really do. So, Deloach is kind of like that athletic 4, while Shewa is more of the big bruiser on the inside. So yeah, I mean, I think Georgia has some pieces. We'll probably talk about them a little bit later. But it's definitely going to go on Noah Thomason and how he goes. I mean, his scoring is going to be crucial for this team.
God, this is a fascinating team, isn't it? Like, the range of outcomes. It's just I'm absolutely fascinated by what this team may or may not do. And, okay, I'm dipping back into D2 again, okay?
You and your
D2. D2 player of the year, though, okay? It's not his name. D2 player of the year, RJ Sunahara, which, was on your top 300 list. And also – on the SportsCenter top 10, dunking on fools last season, okay? Like, there's a reason D2 player of the year. All right. Yeah, okay. Now let me come down a little bit off of it. Yeah, okay. How does he profile at this level, right? But again, winning basketball player, he has some skill. So look out for Sunahara as well with the Georgia Bulldogs. Okay, all right. Then Alan Lubin, last one on our list here, transferring in from Notre Dame to Vandy, 6'8", 230-pound forward, 6.2 points, 4.4 boards in only 17 minutes, number 190 in the top 300. Eric, I think we know what Lubin is looking for. by making the move here to Vandy?
Last on the list, but first in our hearts. This is an underrated class by Coach Stackhouse. Apart from right here on the One and Done show, you're not going to find a whole lot of people giving Jerry Stackhouse much love out there, but he's done a fantastic job with this program, right? Like, he brings in a guy with Lubin's pedigree, and there's some considerable upside that he's injecting into this talent, and I just injecting into this roster, I should say, and I just don't think that it's being talked about enough, right? Like, there were spurts last year where we saw towards the end of the year that there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Lubin, especially in this Stackhouse system, right? Like, he has gotten a ton out of his guys. He's really gotten the most out of the roster that he has available to him, and that roster got a considerable upgrade, right? Lubin can be an X factor for him, but he addressed the wing with Evan Taylor coming in from Lehigh, right? Like, he's another guy who can really shoot from deep. Just look, I will continue to bang the drum for Coach Stack and for Vanderbilt, and moves like this are a big part of the reason why.
Don't forget, we've chatted about big man from South Dakota, Camateros. We've talked about him before too, making an impact in this on this team, but in this conference too, and being a big factor in what Vandy does. So another solid player there for Stack for sure. Some nice. It's been so obviously, if you've kept up with One and Done and you've seen all of the transfers in and out, we've hit them all. We've hit so many big name transfers to help get everybody updated and ready for this year. There's so much roster turnover.
My head hurts.
We like to say in the land of the – I'm sure yours does, because you just finished up like the final, right? Like
yes,
2 weeks ago. You had almost as hard a time finishing that as the NCAA has had finishing off the waiver processes for too many players across the country. But either way, Camateros, shout out.
Maybe I can get a job with the NCAA transfer waiver process.
Well, no, because they'll slow you down too, my guy. Don't worry about it. It's an epidemic in the NCAA. It is what it is. I don't know why I went to my Mac Brown voice there for a little bit. But
I know.
Not even wrong. Yeah.
Guys caught like 3-4 touchdowns already this year.
Love it. All right. Leave those comments like I've been asking you to do all show. We've seen Kaylin hopping in there, Sammy the Sniper, of course, our guy Mitt hopping in early on in the show. Make sure you do too. Say something down there in the live chat, in the comment section afterwards. We appreciate that, of course. Hit those like and subscribe buttons too. Right in time for the world famous tiers, and no, not the tiers that the Gamecocks and the fans of the Gamecocks are probably going to be having rolled down their respective cheeks. No. These are the tiers of the SEC, and we're going to go NBA draft style here in honor of opening nights in the NBA. We're going to go lottery picks, we're going to go second rounders, and we're going to go undrafted, top, mid, and bottom tier. Lottery, second round, and undrafted. We've got a few there that are already going to be in our tiers, made and ready. And then, of course, you see down at the bottom there, 4 teams that we will put into our tiers to finish them out. But, Eric, why don't you talk about the teams for us that are up top lottery picks in that lottery tier for the SEC?
Man, we get deep on these players before we talk about the teams. So for Bama, like we talked about Sears already, the 3 transfers, including stud Grant Nelson. What we didn't mention though is the upside for the guys like incoming freshman Jaron Stevenson, or the development of guard Rylan Griffin, who's shown some flashes at time, right? So Alabama, like they've got a ton of pieces to make another run. Obviously, they're filling the void left by Brandon Miller, but they've got the guys to do it. And then Arkansas, like we've got the must bus, right? Like always going to have super solid guard play. Devontae Davis is coming back as is a huge retain for them. And then the front court, it bears some questions. You've got Trayvon Brazile returning. He's an X factor that dealt with injury previously. He's back out there and can really give them a lot. moving over to Tennessee, right? We talked about their big three, right? Like if they can stay healthy, if they can play up to their potential, there is a ton to like about this. And then you've got Connect coming in, who's an absolute bucket, right? So, top 10 defense is projected for them again. They can do a little bit more scoring, and I think they can be a real menace in this league. And then lastly, Texas A&M, the team that seems to be getting all of the love as we get closer to tip off here. 4 of their 5 starters back, right? Like, can they get some pop off the bench from a guy like Jace Carter from UIC, or Eli Lawrence coming in from Middle Tennessee State? These are guys that if they can get some considerable minutes, they can keep the game flowing when they're in off the bench. That's going to be the kind of glue that holds all this team together, right? So the Aggies have a lot to be excited about with their starters. Hopefully they can get those bench guys to step up. But for me, these 4 are pretty clearly in that top tier, in that lottery tier.
Yeah, you said it a lot more gracefully there than I tried to earlier, but there's a lot of noise around A&M right now. And just going to any college basketball, anything, and a lot of people are talking about A&M. And then,
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong, right? And I just wanted to one more time on Connect. Like, if Tennessee scores 65 points a lot of the times, you will lose.
Yeah.
Okay. And if Connect is bringing that shooting in, it was 20 points, right? A game. If he even brings over 14 of that and it transfers, that shooting does. This is a dangerous, peligroso en español team for sure. All right. I'm going to move on down to the old mid tier, of course, second rounders for the sake of our graphic. Start right there with Florida, loaded with talented transfers we talked about. Kugel coming back. We talked briefly about Will Richard, the other starting guard. Nice transition season from Belmont last year. I think he's going to get a little bit more comfortable as this season goes on. Expect that out of Richard. And then definitely a team on the rise there for Florida. LSU now, you live by the transfer portal and you die by the transfer portal sometimes, right? They really need this transfer class to deliver. A lot of guys do a lot of different things, but Mike, you talked about Jalen Cook earlier. It's got to be special. Cook has to be special. And then, I wanted to mention Tyrell Ward coming back for his sophomore year. One of those players where, not diamond in the rough, but it's almost like you see the development that you see the ceiling that he hasn't reached yet. And if he can just take another step forward, LSU can level up, if you will, in this tier as well. And then Mississippi State, just needs Tolu. We talked about Tolu earlier. Got to get healthy, right? We're going to be missing him a little bit. Got to get healthy, and he's got to come back and shoot a little bit better from deep. Andrew Taylor, getting him from Marshall, instant offense, right? 25-5 last year. Love that all day. Is he going to carry that weight, though, until Tolu Smith returns? So we'll see if they can pull it off. But we do have Mississippi State there, right there in the old mid-tier. And then, of course, Vandy, Coach Stack, Eric's love affair that he has here with Vandy, which I get, okay, all right, I get it. But, of course, Tyron Lawrence, getting him back, huge piece. We've talked about some other stuff with Vandy, but Lawrence, I just wanted to make sure we hit on that. All right, Sam the Sniper, what do we got before we rank? Actually, before we go down to the undrafted tier, what do we got here from Sam the Sniper? There it is, right there. Yep. Tyron Lawrence back. You got it right there, exactly.
He's hot at the end of the year.
Big time. Hot. There you go, Sam. Way to jump in there. Appreciate that. All right, Mike. So often you live up in the top tiers, and we're shifting you down to the old bottom tier, our undrafted ranking, I guess, if you will, tonight. Anybody you think could maybe rise up here?
The waivers with Ole Miss, man. Like, give me Murray, give me Cisse. And now we're talking with Murrell, Brakefield, Auburn transfer Allen Flanagan. He's pretty solid. Jamarian Sharp is there. Like, we loved watching him block shots, average almost 5 per game. He's just 7'5" and just oozing with upside. I don't know if he's going to give you a ton of offense, but, man, he's going to block a ton of shots. I can't imagine a team where Jamarian Sharp starts the game and then, or even Musa Cisse starts the game and the other one comes in. Like, that would be absolutely ridiculous and be a game changer for Ole Miss. Have 10 fouls of guys that are 7'5" and 7'1" that are just tremendous shot blockers would be crazy. So, yeah, a little bit of upside for Ole Miss, but, until we get waiver notice, which might not be until 2 months from now. We got to have them down here at the bottom, along with South Carolina. Like, their transfer class is okay. Talon Cooper, he comes in from Minnesota. Getting out of the wasteland there, and then Miles Studi comes in from Vanderbilt. BJ Max from Wofford, he's a solid player, but nothing really gets me out of my seat with this team. So, gotta have South Carolina slotted down here.
Yeah, and listen, we obviously know who the coach is at Ole Miss, okay? Like, he's not – Chris Beard, he's a good coach, okay? And I know it's not about the Jimmies and the Joes. I mean, it's not about the X's and the O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. You got to have the players on the court. But I don't know, man. Ole Miss, this could seem – we could – obviously, there's a lot – depending on these waivers, right, could jump them up real fast. But for the sake of our tiers right now, just too much unknown there. Let's move on down now. Got some teams there at the bottom there. Where should we start? All right, no, it's easy. Kentucky. Eric, where are you putting Kentucky?
Man, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here with Big Blue Nation, right? So, look, the way I arrived at this is as follows, right? Like, this was a team that was a 6 seed last year, and their roster was loaded top to bottom, right? Like, National Player of the Year Oscar Tshiebwe, lottery pick in Cason Wallace. You've got Jacob Toppin going to Big Bro's former team, the Knicks, on a 2-way deal. Second round draft pick Chris Livingston, and we talked about Reeves, right? Really the only piece returning for that team, and all of this resulted in a 6 seed. Right now, we just automatically expect, because Coach Cal's there, that Reeves, Trey Mitchell, and an amalgam of very highly ranked true freshmen are going to come in and challenge for the SEC. Like, I mean, I don't think that I'm being unreasonable by saying to start the year I'm going to slot them in the middle tier, right? I'm going to put them as a second rounder. I mean, maybe they can put it all together quickly, but look, like, it's a lot of freshmen they're going to depend on, and this league is loaded. Like, this league is going to eat freshmen up, so they'll be on the fringe for me, but I'm putting them in the mid tier.
All right, let's stop this guy in his tracks. All right, like, I know he wanted Kentucky to miss the tournament last year because he wanted North Carolina to miss last year. He wanted his Vanderbilt squad to get in, but hey, look, you make some valid points there. Pure chaos. You make some valid points. I mean, but look, we've seen it too many times with Cal and freshmen, right? Like, this isn't really anything new. You just worried a little bit about the shooting, but that's kind of solved as long as Reeves and Mitchell kind of stay healthy. Look at Vegas, like, DK odds to make the Final Four. The fourth shortest odds. It's all about upside. They don't have to be great on November 6th. They need to be great, in late February, early March. So, all about upside, and until I see Cal not do it with young players, like, I'm just gonna automatically assume that he's going to get it done and challenge for the top of this league. So get me up in that lottery, Jay. Please tell me you are not sticking with Eric here and his Kentucky shade that he's throwing here.
No, I refuse to participate in any of the Kentucky shade thrown about. Put them up at the top where they belong, please, sir. Look, just because you don't care that you're, not making friends with Ashley Judd or Drake, or if he's a fan of Kentucky this week or whatever, Eric, okay? 3 of those 4 freshmen, don't know if you remember, 3, 5, and 6 in the composite rankings. These aren't your run-of-the-mill freshmen, okay? Some of the top players in the high school game last year. Mitchell and Reeves' experience in shooting puts this team into contention. They're in the lottery tier to stay up at the top. Let's go blue. Sorry, Eric. I'm not even that sorry. I'm not even that sorry. Yeah, I'm not. Okay. All right. Sammy the Sniper, your time has come. Let's move on to Auburn. Eric, where are you slotting them?
Oh man, you're gonna make an enemy out of Samuel the Sniper for me now too.
Well, you already made every Kentucky fan mad, so do whatever else you got to do. Okay.
I'm just here to piss everybody off. Look, like on the whole, like I'm kind of indifferent on this team, right? Like 10-8 last year. You obviously got a legitimate star in Johni Broome. You know, we're really just going to continue to bang the table for him to get more run. But also, you know, Coach Pearl went out and landed some pretty solid transfers, right? You got Baker Mazzara coming in, Jones coming in. You know, these are guys that can bring some shooting to this team. You know, the ceiling and really the story for this season, in addition to the additional the presumed minutes for Johni Broome, is gonna have to do with true freshman Aiden Holloway, right? Like he could be a star. You know, he's someone that can absolutely impact the trajectory of this team. But you know, where we sit right now, I think they're still in the middle of the pack. So I'll put them in that second rounder tier.
Second rounder tier. I'll go right there with you, man. Like, you look outside of that, right? Like, they got a lot of pieces back from the team that made the tournament. Jalen Williams, KD Johnson, Dylan Cardwell, Chris Moore, Trey Donaldson. Yeah, I'm in the second round tier. Jay, I think you would agree with that, right? Just not enough upside to get to the very top, but just a solid SEC team.
Yeah, but if one of those guys you mentioned just decides to have a season, you know, like, I mean, we talked about Broome earlier. Like, one of those guys goes off as a career year, and then another one even just steps their game up a little bit more than they were expecting. Don't sleep on them. You know, I guess this is probably about the right spot for them. In that middle tier for us. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely see a scenario where they are they're in that top tier, I guess, if you will, with those other five. Let's slot in Missouri, guys. Let's get to the Tigers. Coach Gates, phenomenal year one, obviously, but Eric, this is a whole new team. A new fantastic point of view. All right, go ahead. What do you got for Missouri?
Oh man, I don't know if that point of view is going to be all that fantastic, right? Like I really liked this team last year with Hodge, with Kobe Brown, but I mean it is an entirely new roster, right? We talked about Vanover earlier, coming back to the SEC. You know, we'll see if he brings a pair with him and gets up to 17 and 11. Sounds like the three of us think that he doesn't quite get up to that ceiling. You know, him and Nick Honor are really going to be the ones that are shouldering the load for these Tigers, right? They're, you know, overall there's not a whole lot of primary ball handlers on this team. You know, there isn't a whole lot of firepower, and with the rest of this league, right? Like this was a team that was 180th in defensive efficiency last year, right? Like, you know, I don't think that they pull the rabbit out of the hat and surprise anyone this year. You know, it feels like we're kind of starting over, even though it's year two for this coach. So I'm gonna put him down in the undrafted category.
Is there not a song for undrafted category? All right. So I love me some Dennis Gates. I don't know, man. Like Caleb Grill, John Tonji, like they're okay. They're not. I loved Hodge, Colston, Gamillion last year. I think we kind of know what Nick Honor is. So let's just slot them into that undrafted tier. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Gates, you know, was able to cook something up. But, you know, the rosters on these teams are pretty impressive.
I was talking over you when you said that you love you some Dennis Gates, but I feel the same way. And that's the thing that, you know, that's the hope that Mizzou has there. I don't know, man. That's tough. Yeah, I'm with you guys having them down there undrafted. You know, it's like just –
oh God!
I was gonna sing some more Aladdin, but we'll just move on and move on to. We'll just move. You know how they're on there. He's like, "Don't you dare close your eyes, Missouri. You might want to close your eyes watching some of these. You might watching some of these games this year. All right,
there's only one more preview show after this.
Georgia last team here for their world famous tiers. Mike, I'll give you the floor on the last pick with Georgia.
we gotta get this guy out of here so he can get to his singing competition. 6 conference wins, not great, right? We talked about the talent assembled. This is weird, man. Like looking at KenPom, Georgia's rated 57th. They finished last year 154th. All 14 teams are projected preseason top 82. Even South Carolina is number 66. I don't know why. It's kind of a crazy thing. That just tells you how strong this conference potentially could be. Obviously, things will shake itself out. Don't know if they're going to be that strong because that would be kind of ridiculous. But the roster, it really goes as Thomason goes. With Justin Hill, solid player. Jabri Abdur-Rahim is a really good shooter. So, we'll see how they kind of all play together. The front court is key, right? Like, got some new guys in here. And I'm picking the drum that this conference is going to challenge the Big 12, for supremacy in the college basketball world. So, for me right now, though, and look, we only got three teams in the undrafted. I just got to go second round, though, man. I feel like there's upside here. There might be too many teams, Eric. I don't know, man. Like, are you with me? At least second round here.
I mean, dude, look, like we can't have all these teams that are this good, right? Like naturally,
sure
someone's going to fall, right? Not all these teams are going to win 15 games in the conference, right? That's not how math works. Look, like I can't see this Georgia team matching up very well with the elite or even the mid tier in this conference when half their guys are either coming in from the mid majors or generally just unproven at this level, right? Like, yes, they've got some shooters, that a lot of that stems around how good Thomason is. But, like I look at them, last year, 6 wins in the conference, and I'm not sure they can do much better than that, right? So I'll slot them in as undrafted, and Jay, I'll let you take us home with the tiebreaker.
Oh, the tiebreaker to end
Why
it.
are you been so sour? You had Kentucky, try to put Kentucky in the second round. You're trying to put Georgia in.
I'm bringing everyone down. I'm deleting this whole lottery tier.
I mean, just get it out of here. No. I get both arguments, but Mike mentioned all these teams are inside the preseason top 100 in KenPom. If it all comes together for Georgia, the pieces are there. Let's be honest. I think I just put them in that second round, man. Put them in the second round. I like what Coach White's doing.
Man,
we'll put them in the mid tier. We didn't have a lot
of SEC from last year from 3.
We didn't have we didn't use a lot of superlatives earlier when we were talking about South Carolina. So, like the being 66th in KenPom's rankings is obviously that holds a lot of water around here for us. And so there's something to be said for that as well. And just maybe thinking how good that ceiling could be. So top to bottom, obviously an excellent conference here. Lottery tier there up at the top, our top tier in the SEC, Bama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and those fighting Texas A&M Aggies. Second round in the mid-tier, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, LSU, Mississippi State, and Eric's Vanderbilt, of course, right there. And then down at undrafted, Missouri, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. I mean, any one of those teams could pop up, especially if we get some waiver news for Ole Miss. But for now, we're going to have them down there, obviously, to be determined. How about it? The world-famous tiers, lottery, second round, undrafted. You love it. You know it, you love it. You love the tiers, and we do too. And we love you for hanging out with us here on One and Done. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons here as we're closing out the show. Go to my guy, Eric the Blue, with some closing thoughts on the SEC.
Yeah, look, we kind of mentioned it off the top, and I'll close out with the same thought. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight, top to bottom in this league, right? Like there are clearly a couple of teams that have the pieces to sort of rise up, but I mean the vast majority of this conference we had ranked in the mid tier for good reason, right? Like there are some real talented rosters, there's some great coaching. I think this one is going to ebb and flow a lot. And we're going to learn a lot about these teams over the course of the season.
Last but not least, of course, El Capitan's comments to wrap it up.
Kentucky, what they look like, when we watch the first couple of weeks of the season versus what they look like in late February. And then 3-point shooting, who's going to be able to knock down the three ball? That's going to be the separator in this conference. So, Jay, what you got for us? Close us out.
Love me some good three goggles. For sure. I also like the old knuckleheads. Remember Darius Miles and they used to do that on the Clippers? Love the knucklehead stuff. I used to think I was cool when I did that. Anyways, yeah, the Kentucky freshman, I got to side with Mike. Not side. I just got to say I'm sort of following that same sort of thought process with this exciting freshman class for Kentucky. There's a whole lot going on here, and I think that these tiers honestly could be interchangeable. This is one of those conferences where top to bottom it's so stout. Yeah, we have our teams that we feel like will finish at the top, but there's a reason why we saved this one for next to last, because coming up next, make sure you have those notification bells on for the Big 12. It's the Big 12. It's Division 1. Go play intramurals, brother. No, don't do that. Make sure you subscribe to One and Done instead. Follow the captain. Wait, I am so bad with the camera. The captain of the ship, Mike Holland, at MC Holland 34. The Baron of Bread of Green Streams Media at Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets. That's Eric Urilmuff, our guy at The Real Napier. Chris Napier doing things behind the scenes and over on TikTok and YouTube in our top 20 countdown. I, of course, MJ Heinrich, the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. Follow me at Dr. William Cannon. Follow at Get Green Screens for our for our Green Screens Media Twitter X account, whatever. At One and Done CVB is the show page. Make sure you smash those follow buttons for us over there. Shout out to our guy JB for checking in. Check out his stuff. Shout out to Samuel the Sniper checking in. Hope we showed enough love to Auburn for you tonight, my guy. Thanks for checking in. Of course, Mitt at the top of the show commenting. We appreciate that. And of course, Kaylin always come in for that dose. And we appreciate Kaylin for doing that. Thanks for everybody for watching, for checking in, of course. Big 12 coming up next. Do not miss it. Tell someone you love them. Have a nice day. Let's get this bread, baby.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.